Hello and welcome to this episode of Boardroom Buddies podcast. I hope that you are enjoying the summer so far. It's been a bit wet of late, but we seem to have some brighter weather currently. I have been away a little bit, but I have a very special guest for me today, Gillian Schofield of Kustom Copy, because Gillian keeps me going on the content writing. So that's what Gillian does. So welcome, Gillian, to the podcast.
Thanks, Jackie. Lovely to be here.
Yes. So we're going to be talking all things about content writing and why someone would use someone like yourself to do their writing when they can write, because most of us can write.
Yeah.
But I know from my point of view, I get a blank sheet of paper, or rather a blank Word document, and I look at it on the screen, and there's almost a panic for about 15 minutes where I look at it and I think, I don't know what to write. And who's interested anyway? So it's been really, really great to work with you on content, because you make it sound like me, but it's so much more polished when you do it. So Kustom Copy. Gillian, tell us, what made you start your business?
It's a bit of a long-winded story, this one. So ever since I was a kid, I've loved the written word, reading, writing. I was an avid reader from a young age. Dream job was always to be an author, to write for a living. But of course, you grow up, particularly in a working class household, thinking, that you're a dreamer. You're never going to make a living from something like that. Get a real job. So I went to college and studied hairdressing. And then I had 3 kids, and they very much did not fit inside the box that society and school wanted them to fit in. So I ended up pulling them all out of school to home educate them 7 years ago. So I did a bit of hair and beauty around them, because I wanted to be a mum that was present as well. I'd never wanted to just send them to nursery and things like that. Nothing against people that do that, but I just wanted to be, there. So it worked. And then a couple of years ago, I thought, right, this is all very well, but I don't want to then get to a point where I've invested 100% of me into them, and then they're not there, and I'm kind of left a bit bereft. So, turning 40 was on the horizon, and I thought, right, now's the time, let's start getting something in place for me. And I came across copywriting. And at the time, I have to admit, I didn't know what it was, as lots of people don't actually.
Yeah.
But, I jumped on a webinar and I was like, oh, I can write for a living. So I signed up there and then for the course, did that, set the business up, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind ever since, actually. Yeah, really, really loving it. It's kind of going from strength to strength, still really flexible around the kids. They don't need me as much, which is great, but I've still got that flexibility of working for myself. So
yeah. So you say that you liked the written word. Was that something at school that you were?
Just ever since I was reading from a really young age, I remember that. And, avid reader, Enid Blyton. Loved all that kind of stuff, all the classics. So it wasn't, I suppose it was them, Famous Five, maybe, that I just loved those books, and I think I had all of them. I don't know. I don't really know what it was. I had a natural flair for the English language and for writing. It just came easily to me, and I enjoyed it. So that's what it was, really.
So inspired by the Famous Five.
Yeah. I've never actually thought about that.
Love that.
Yeah, I probably was.
Yeah.
And I still love a good mystery to this day. That's the genre. They're a little bit darker nowadays, but
yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, grown up now.
Grown up mysteries now. But I got my kids into them as well. Like, they've not really died. You can still buy newer versions of them. So I remember getting my eldest daughter a set of Famous Five books, and I think but the language is quite dated now. I think,
of course,
kids now kind of struggle with it a bit more, but
Mm. Yeah.
And Shakespeare, actually, in school, I remember I loved doing Shakespeare. Everyone else hated it. And I still, to this day, my favourite film is the Baz Luhrmann version of Romeo and Juliet. And my partner's like, I just haven't got a clue what they're saying. I'm like, what do you mean you haven't got a clue? Well, they just said that. So yeah, I love the complexity of the English language, which is the bit most people hate.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that's lovely and really interesting. Yeah. So what kind of things do you write? What kind of things do you do?
In the business for clients.
Yeah.
So predominantly, I do website copy. I'll do sales pages. I have a whole kind of email marketing package where I'll help write a lead magnet, a landing page, and then a welcome sequence. And then I can also help with the ongoing emails if need be. And I also offer some content packages, which obviously is what you're on. And that's where I'll produce a blog, however often someone wants a blog, and repurpose it into social media posts as well. So I do other things outside of that, but that's my kind of core offering.
Yeah, because I know, yes, I can write. I have a reasonable command of English, but I think, I mean, there have been times when I've done it and sent it to you and it comes back all polished and making sense. And that's been brilliant. There's this, I've often sat and looked at the words and the page and thought, sometimes I don't even know whether I'm making sense.
So I think it's hard for people. Everyone struggles to write about themselves and their own business, because often there's so much we want to say. We either try and say too much, or it comes out too garbled, or loads of people struggle with it, to be honest.
Do you find that well, certainly from my perspective, I seem to write the way that I'm thinking? So when I read it back, I think, I'm not sure that makes any sense at all.
Our thoughts are quite fragmented, aren't they? And suddenly we get a pop of an idea and, oh, actually I could talk about that. So copywriting really is just a process of trimming the fat. Like, people think it's about writing lots of words, and it's not. It's actually about condensing the words and structuring them and making sure it's logical, it makes sense, and having a hook at the start so that you engage the readers enough to keep them on the page and keep them reading. And it's all those elements that the average person just doesn't know and think about. And that's why, like you say, well, I can write, why do I need to pay someone to write for me? But actually, the same reason, whatever industry any of us are in, we know about all the little nuances around that thing, don't we, that the average person doesn't know, and it would take you ages to sit down and learn everything about everything.
So when you write a blog, you say that you can then pull out or repurpose some of it for social media and all that kind of stuff?
I talk about repurposing quite a lot, actually, because people think they've always got to be producing new stuff, and you don't. It makes good business sense, and it's efficient to repurpose stuff. So one of the best things I do, and a strategy I teach people, and I've got a course based around it, is to write your blog, because you can write more freely with a longer piece of content. One lady that did my course said she just felt really contrived. She'd go to write a social media post and she found it really difficult because she had a small space that she wanted to fit all this information in. And when I taught her my way, she said, oh my gosh, it's lifted that burden, because now I write freely. I write a big long blog, and it doesn't matter how much information's in it, provided you're not going completely off-piste. And then you pull bits out, and that's where you get your shorter snippets, your infographics, your quotes, your just shorter posts. So it's a really efficient way to do it.
So that's what you do then. So I know in the past I've sent you my kind of draft, and then, as I say, it comes back all polished and making sense and organized and all that kind of thing. So
that fresh pair of eyes helps. It's editing. This is the other thing. People think editing is just, I'll run it through Grammarly, I'll check spelling and grammar. But actually it's so much more than that. It is the structure, it's the readability, is it logical, is it making sense, is it flowing, is it keeping people engaged? It's a bit like writing a book, you know, when you get a cliffhanger at the end of a chapter. That's essentially what you need to be doing with your blog, is just dangling that carrot and lead on. Yeah.
Okay, so that compels somebody to read on to the next bit.
Reading. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. So, and you do email, kind of the email marketing as well, don't you?
Yeah, email marketing is very much the best, most lucrative, you know, gives the best return on investment form of marketing that you can do. And a lot of people overlook it because they think, oh, people don't read emails, you know, they think about their own inbox and how many emails they don't read or delete. And that's where working with someone who knows a bit more about marketing is essential, because if you get the audience right, if you get the subject line, again, it's those breadcrumbs all along the way. If you get an email in your inbox and the subject line grabs you, you're going to click on it. That's the first step. You clicked on it, you then got the first sentence or headline to get them to read more. So you're just laying those breadcrumbs all the time, but it's very, very lucrative. You've got a warm audience. They already know you. You know, and you can warm them up even more and educate them towards buying from you.
Yes, yeah. I had a question in my head then, and it's gone completely now. So tell us about your course. You mentioned you have a course.
Yeah, so last year I realised that content was something most people struggled with. As a sole business owner myself, I know the struggles of trying to do all the things and not having the budget to outsource all the things. So I just wanted to be able to help other people in that situation. So I started doing some talks on this strategy, like I say, of creating a blog and repurposing it, and it went down really well. And then I thought, actually, I could deep dive on this, because when you're doing a 7-minute talk, you can't really give away that much information. So I turned it into a course, and people loved it. I had loads of people came on the beta. I ran it then again a few more times, and people just got so much from it because it's short and sharp. You know, we do 4 live sessions over Zoom with me. They're recorded, they're sent out afterwards. You get a workbook afterwards. You get all the frameworks that I talk about. But the key thing is it's simple, and that was really what I had to keep in mind, you know, wanting to give lots of value but not wanting to overwhelm, because the whole premise of it was that there's a really simple way to do content marketing. It doesn't have to be difficult and overwhelming. So basically, one lady that did it said this should be called Foundations of Copywriting, because it's not just about writing content, it's giving those key golden rules really around how to write more effectively so that people pay attention. So yeah, I've not run it this year, but I've just decided to run it again. So it starts in October, and it's only £97. So it's really super
affordable
way to really get a handle on their content creation.
Yeah. So what date is that it's running?
We start Monday the 2nd of October. So it's Mondays at 1 o'clock. As I said, it's all recorded. So if people can't make the live calls, they still have access to me via messaging, a private Facebook group, things like that. So
right. Okay. That sounds really good. So you're going to teach people how to structure and
yeah, so the outcomes of the course are that you remove that blank page paralysis. Do that by starting with a topic bank, you know, listing down all the things you can talk about, because like you said, when you go to talk about something, suddenly your brain goes, I don't know anything about anything.
You know? I don't know anything about anything.
So it's about creating that topic bank, but then actually putting it into some sort of structure and strategy that makes sense for your business in order to get you where you want to go. Because that's the other thing that's often missing, is some sort of strategy behind what we do. A lot of people have a throw hope it sticks approach, and they think, well, I'm showing up. And I'm like, yeah, and that's great, but why are you showing up? You know, what are you trying to achieve? So we cover that. And then my strategy, like I say, it's a simple 4-step strategy. It's create a topic bank, write a blog on one of the topics, repurpose it, and then create the content and schedule it. It's 4 simple steps, but around that you'll also learn what's going to make that effective and how to set out that strategy. But it's all quick and simple as well. You know, it's not really, this is entry. I say entry level, and I don't want to belittle the course by saying that, but I don't want people to think, oh, it's just going to be really complex. It's not. It's powerful and effective, but it's simple. It's not going to take up loads of headspace.
Yeah, I think from a business owner point of view, you know, there are lots of marketing courses out there.
Yeah.
But if you're a small micro like us,
yeah,
you know, the thought of going on a marketing course where you know that probably it's targeted at bigger businesses, you know, who might have a marketing department or several employees and all those kinds of things. It's that there is a sense of, well, that's for, you know, I don't need that.
Start hearing GA4 and analytics and pay-per-click, and you just go, whoa.
Yeah, that I do. When everybody says, you know, pay-per-clicks, what? What's that about?
This is none of that. This is just you showing up as you consistently, right channels. It's not that next level stuff.
Because I think now when you meet someone on, you know, maybe networking or something, they're more likely to go to your LinkedIn to see who you are than go to your website.
Absolutely. That's my go.
You shouldn't have a website because that's your shop window, but they want to see who you are, don't they?
And they want to have that connection. That for me, that is, you know, when people don't put a LinkedIn link in a chat at a networking meeting, I think, oh, they just put an email address, and I think, well, I'm not. Why would I email you? You know, I just want to be connected with you. I'm not ready to email. So that's
interesting point. Interesting point. Okay, all right. So that course sounds brilliant. £97, 2nd of October, and it's online, isn't it? It's done by Zoom.
All over Zoom, and then you'll get like a Google document sent to you. So you'll have everything to keep. You'll have the recording to go back over and keep. You'll have the resources, the Google Doc if you prefer to scan that. That's got all the information that's in the recording. So it's hopefully suits different styles of learning.
How many sessions are there?
Just 4.
Okay, that's excellent value.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, great stuff. And you talked about strategy. I know when we first started working together, we did a lot of, well, like a exploratory meeting, didn't we? And you found out who my target client is and all that kind of thing, so that when you're writing, you know who you're writing for.
One of the best pieces of advice I could give anyone is to write with one person in mind. It's easy to get into that, you know, anyone who wants a website, anyone who wants a business coach, or one I keep hearing at the minute, anyone who's feeling stuck. and everyone does it at some point until you realize how ineffective it is. And the problem with that is that then when you're writing, you're trying to write to anyone, and it resonates with no one because, you know, it just washes over people. So people are scared to get specific, but it really is important. And it's those foundations are what I find myself going through most clients with. You know, they come to me wanting help, and actually we have to go back and just get those foundations in place of what is it you're trying to do? Who is it that help best? And you can play with that. You know, if you decide 1 month, this is who I'm targeting, you don't have to stay with that person. You know, you can trial it. And I would say marketing, the thing is with marketing, there's no one size fits all. It's very much about trial and error and testing. And I know that sounds frustrating and boring because we all want a quick fix and a magic pill, but also it gives a bit of freedom because you can't really do anything that wrong. You know, if you're not being spammy and awful, you can't really go wrong. You can only learn what does and doesn't work.
So if you're going to write something and you're not a very accomplished writer, because we've all got access now to you know, the likes of ChatGPT and LinkedIn have got their own AI tool and all that kind of thing. What if you're using those, how different is that from using someone like yourself?
So the AI conversation, I have this a lot lately. I just want to say I love AI. I think it's brilliant and I use AI, but it's a tool. And what I'm seeing a lot of is people not using it as a tool, but using it as a writer. And so we're seeing more and more of this generic. ChatGPT has a style, right? And I don't think I'm the only person. I've been able to spot it for a while, but I think more and more people are getting switched onto it. You know, you read that opening line, hey, such and such, or calling all something, you know, there's so many markers. And the thing that's really been irritating me lately is people that aren't even changing the spelling to English spelling when they're English and their market is English. And I'm like, the problem with that, and I know that's great if you struggle with writing, it's great that you can get something to spit something out. And the problem is people go, yeah, but it's written me something and that's great. No, it's not. And you can actually do more harm than good. You know, when people cotton on to that laziness, and I don't mean that offensively, because I know some people struggle in it and it's doing a job for them, but it will be perceived as laziness, particularly if you're not checking through and changing a flipping Z to an S, you know. People aren't going to want to buy from a business that comes across as a bit laissez-faire and half-hearted. You know, it's doing something different that stands out. It's making an effort that stands out. So yeah, just exercise caution. And actually, I talk about using ChatGPT on the course and how to use it effectively. And I brought that in on the last one, which was the end of last year when chat was just taking off. So I'll probably feature it a lot more heavily in this version of the course, because it is a fantastic tool and you can use it for so many amazing things. But people are tending to just go, write me a post on, and then copy and paste in it. And that's not where its strengths lie. If you have to do that, you know, if you're really struggling, just really edit it afterwards, or send it to someone and say, does this sound like me? And if they say no, you know, just get someone to sense check it, get someone to check the spellings, run it through an English version of Grammarly at the very least.
I think and that's the way I've used it when I've had to do my to write something quickly. You know, I've started writing, you know, write me this, I want it in this tone, and all that kind of stuff. But I have found that even though I've said to it or instructed it to write a piece of content up to 3,000 characters.
It doesn't.
No.
No, it completely ignores you. 4 times I said to it, that's not 1,000 words, and 4 times it went, sorry, here you go, and it still spat out 600 words.
And there was I did a post around one of the podcasts and got it to, I wrote most of it, put it in and said, make this, you know, more succinct and, you know, and when I tried to post it into LinkedIn, of course, it was like over by about 2,000 characters. So I ended up copy and paste it back into a Word document and completely re-editing it all myself.
That's the thing. It can end up more time consuming. I was just talking to someone this morning, actually. It was quite funny because the other thing to watch with it is it will just make stuff up. So I use it as a research assistant, you know, and if I've got to write a blog post, essentially all I've got half the time for a blog post is a title. Now, if I'm not in that industry, I've got to research. So I use it to help research. And it wrote something yesterday. And I said, I always say to it, what source did you use for that? And it came back and said, I do apologise. Basically, it told me it made it up. I do apologise. I just, you know, made that up as an example, basically, in a nutshell was what it says. So I always ask it for its sources, and I always check the sources it gives, because it will just make up any old nonsense to make something sound good.
Yes, yes. Oh gosh, yeah, that's something to know about, isn't it, really?
Yes. Yeah. So just lots of caution with it, and don't take it as gospel. You know, what you've got to remember is people are feeding information into this machine now and have been for months. Well, those people are Joe Public, which we all know are not particularly reliable. So
Yeah, well,
learning from the input it's getting,
yeah,
and if that input isn't right, so yeah, just always gotta.
yeah, yeah, really interesting. And I have noticed, particularly on LinkedIn, when someone's used, something like ChatGPT or the LinkedIn one.
Usually unleashing, embarking, igniting something.
Yeah, words that we don't normally use.
No, but now they're everywhere. And again, then we all get used to seeing those words and they don't mean anything anymore. So
No.
what you've got to remember is if you're not tweaking it enough, and I've ranted about this, and I have people comment and go, yeah, you need to tweak it. And I think, well, you're one of the ones that are not tweaking it. So tweak it more, folks.
Tweak it more, yeah, I like that. Okay. All right, it's been really interesting. So tell us about what you like to do outside of work.
Outside of work, I'm
Not that you have a lot of time, I know.
No, not with kids. Well, my girls have got ponies, so they take up a lot of time out of work. I just like I love a dog walk. I love being outside in fresh air and open views and rolling hills, which I'm very fortunate living in South Somerset that I'm surrounded by that. I love reading a good book, and I love eating out with friends. That's one of my favorite things to do, actually.
Yeah,
Not big groups. I prefer kind of one-to-one. But I love a nice lunch date and a chat or an evening. So
yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So what was your last favorite dining out meal then?
oh, my birthday, we went to so there's a pub called the Hare and Hounds in Sidmouth. If anyone's ever in that area, I highly recommend going.
Right.
And they do the most amazing carvery. So it's on every day, and it is just awesome.
Oh, brilliant.
Really, really like the carvery. So we went there on my birthday. We were moving house, so I'd been unpacking boxes all day, and then we went there for tea. It's about half an hour, 40 minutes from here, but it was worth it. So yeah, that was mine.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. You are a bit of a superwoman, aren't you, really? You run a business, you've got 3 kids that you homeschool, you've got ponies, you've obviously got, is it 1 dog or 2 dogs you've got?
1 dog, 1 cat.
Yeah.
Fish.
And the fish, yeah. Run a business. And I know that you run the Circle Network.
Yeah.
Kind of
Run a meeting there every Friday at 10.
Yeah, which is online networking, which is really good. That's how I met you.
Yeah, with my co-host Charlotte, we run it together. So
yeah. So that's
yeah, I think mad woman is the term, Jackie, not superwoman.
When you list all the things that you do, I'm tired by the end of the list.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, it's been brilliant. Thank you ever so much for being our guest